Hey everyone, I was thinking back to the old Power Rangers Super Legends video game, the PlayStation 2 version. It starts off, we see an armored Omega Ranger battling a giant robot. After defeating it, he finds a giant crystal. He remarks that it must be the cause of a disturbance in time. He tries to destroy it, but is blocked by Lord Zed. Zed says he comes from a timeline where he remained evil. The Omega Ranger breaks the crystal, but Zed gets away carrying a few shards. Mac and Will, in the world of Operation Overdrive, battle Moltor. Then they're contacted by the Omega Ranger. He tells them he's been trapped in the Hall of Legends using a Chrono Stone. He and the Overdrive Rangers can get help from across time, but only 2 Rangers at a time. They contact Leo and Damon, the Red and Green Lost Galaxy Rangers. They're brought to the Hall of Legends. The Omega Ranger informs them of what's going on. Leo and Demon agree to help, but first they have to stop Trakina. They return after defeating her. We then watch Hunter and Blake, the Ninja Storm Thunder Rangers, fight Chubo. After that, they join the team. Next up, Jason and Kimberly, the Red and Pink Mighty Morphin Rangers, are contacted. The Omega Ranger warns them of Zed and Goldar's plan that he knows for some reason. Before stopping Goldar, they join the others in the Hall of Legends. Then they leave to go stop Goldar. Next, we see the world of SPD. Zed has allied with Grum and Ichthyor. Kruger and Sam, the Shadow and Omega, not that one, Rangers try to stop them. After defeating Ichthyor, Kruger and Sam are brought to the Hall of Legends and told what's going on. Sam is surprised by the presence of another Omega Ranger. Ichthyor comes back and has to be defeated again. Jason and the Omega Ranger face Zed outside the Hall of Legends. Zed has a giant robot full of really crappy generic henchmen. Eventually, Zed retreats to his robot, but they manage to destroy it. Jason questions why Zed turned evil again. Zed explains that after he was purified, he became an archaeologist and discovered the time crystal. Oh, and upon double-checking, I realized it was actually the Omega Ranger questioning Zed. It's hard to keep everyone straight when all the voices sound alike and the cutscenes are just a slideshow of static images. There's some really confusing dialogue after that I can't quite figure out. Purified Zed thought back to himself being evil after finding the time crystal, and then evil Zed somehow corrupted the time crystal, which somehow turned purified Zed into him. Or something. Zed escapes through a time portal, but drops the time crystal. The Omega Ranger tells Jason that without the crystal, he's trapped outside time. The Omega Ranger thanks the others and tells the Rangers that as the timeline corrects itself, they'll forget this adventure. Wow, this was way worse than I remembered, and I didn't even like this game when it was new. The most awkward thing in this game is definitely the voices. The only one who sounds passable is Doggy.
I hate waiting to react, but I can't predict what Ichthyor will do next.
Oddly, Sam sounds less like himself than the Omega Ranger from this game.
I tried to destroy it, but only damaged it.
Then Ichthyor working with Emperor Grum is an anomaly in history.
Leo's voice actor is okay.
Trakina's still on the loose, though.
And Chubo sounds alright, though he's even more cartoony.
Oh, do I have to destroy you myself?
Goldar and Kimberly have the worst, extremely grating voices.
Ah, Rangers! I was wondering when you'd show up. Tell me, why did the chicken cross the road?
To get to the other side?
Wrong! To meet his doom!
The look of this game hasn't aged that well. It went for a cel-shaded comic book style, and it reminds me of the comic book world from the Dino Thunder episode Drawn into Danger. For its time, it's okay, but unimpressive. The older Sega and Super Nintendo games have far more appealing looks. Even some of the Game Boy games are nicer to look at. The Rangers who take part in the story are seemingly chosen at complete random. None of them play a role that couldn't be filled by any other Ranger. The story is a mess. I think they really should have gone for something simpler. Zed is an especially perplexing character. He's established as coming from a different timeline than the one in the show. Alright, that's fine, but then they try to connect the game's version of him to that version of him, and I can't figure out what was even supposed to have happened. I don't know what purpose the Omega Ranger serves. He's the de facto mentor of the makeshift team, but he doesn't really do what anyone else couldn't have done. I think they should have just had him be an older Sam. That would simplify things a lot. The Hall of Legends isn't explained. It's just some other dimension that serves as the main hub for all the various Rangers to meet. The game suffers from the same problem as a lot of team-up specials, lack of character moments. There's really only one moment that stands out, the time when Doggy confuses the Omega Ranger when he refers to Sam as the Omega Ranger. I don't know why the scope of this game was so limited. Nearly all the locations are generically interchangeable. Many of the villains are original to this game, and the plot is extremely thin. What was stopping the developers from including more of a variety of monsters? What about the Rangers? Actor availability wasn't a problem. Everyone across the board was replaced with little care to match their voices. More Zords would have been nice, too. The gameplay is bland and uninspired. I don't know why it's so difficult for developers to make a decent Power Rangers game. A side-scrolling beat-em-up is perfect for Power Rangers. But this game suffers from repetitive enemies, drawn-out boss battles, awkward controls, confusing level designs, boring locations, and the crossover element is so surface-level the game can't even qualify as spectacle. The only interesting aspects of this game are the Omega Ranger and the Hall of Legends. These have unfortunately been mostly forgotten. It's a shame, this kind of lore is right up Boom Comics' alley. So yeah, read about the Omega Ranger of this game on Wikipedia, skip the game, play the old Sega, Super Nintendo, and Game Boy games instead. Or Legacy Wars and Battle for the Grid. The DS version of Super Legends, bizarrely, has a completely unique story, completely separate from this one. The ultimate middle finger the game gives to the players is that the Rangers will forget the adventure. Like the game or not, this was not a good way to conclude what was supposed to be an anniversary celebration. So yeah, this game was painfully below average, even when it was new, and it's aged terribly. Even the story doesn't inspire much enthusiasm. Maybe the DS version will be a little bit more interesting. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.
Bats, you take the north side. Putties, you take the south. Kelzax, stop hitting the putties!